What do you think? Did Emily overreact? Or was she right to protect her body and privacy? If you've ever faced something similar, a touch without consent, a thoughtless joke, or a prying stare, share your story below. Your experiences might just be the wake-up call someone else needs. Hey, listener, ready to step into a moment that starts small but spirals fast. I'm Emily, 28, crunching numbers in the finance department of a tech company in Austin, Texas. My days are spreadsheets, coffee, and the occasional happy hour with coworkers. Life's busy but good, and I've got this little ritual that keeps me grounded. Checking my Nest camera at home to watch a tiny finch that perches on my windowsill every day. It's silly, but that bird feels like a friend. At work, I'm friendly but private, keeping my personal life low-key. So when a company lunch turned into a scene that left me shaken, I wasn't prepared. Let's dive into this. One's about boundaries, assumptions, and a moment that hit harder than I expected. It was a Friday, and the office was buzzing for our fiesta lunch, a free Mexican food spread to boost morale. Tacos, guac, margaritas, non-alcoholic for most the works. The break room was packed, music blaring, everyone piling plates with carnitas and chips. I was in line, balancing my phone and a paper plate, when I decided to check the Nest app. Sure enough, there was my finch, hopping along the sill, its tiny head cocked like it was keeping tabs on my apartment. I smiled, a quiet moment in the chaos, and murmured to myself, that little bird's back again, like it's watching me or something. It was just a passing thought, barely audible, meant for no one. Then came Rachel. She's about 35, a senior analyst in marketing, known for her loud laugh and jokes that sometimes push the line. Rachel's got a thing about pregnancy, always teasing people about baby bumps or dropping hints about her own plans to start a family soon. She'd made offhand comments before, like asking me if I was hiding a little one when I wore a loose dress. I'd brushed it off, chalking it up to her sense of humor, but it always left me uneasy. That day, as I stood in line, Rachel was a few spots behind me, chatting with another coworker. I didn't think she'd overheard my bird comment, but I was wrong. Out of nowhere, Rachel swooped in, her voice booming. "What's that about a little bird?" Before I could respond, she reached out, placed her hand on my stomach, and rubbed it like I was a pregnant buddy she was teasing. "Must be the little chicken here," she said, laughing loudly enough to turn heads. The room seemed to freeze. A few people chuckled, thinking it was just Rachel being Rachel, but I felt my face burn, her hand on my body, uninvited, and her words turning my quiet moment into a public joke about my wombat like a slap. I stepped back, clutching my plate, my voice stuck in my throat. "Rachel, don't." I managed, my tone sharper than I meant. She raised her hands, still grinning. "Oh, come on, Em, just a joke. You're the one talking about birds nesting." The people around us laughed again, but it wasn't funny to me. I'm not pregnant. Never said I was. And even if I were, her touching me, making my body the punchline, was way out of line. I grabbed my tacos and moved to a table in the corner, my appetite gone. Rachel didn't follow, already back to joking with someone else, but I could feel eyes on me, like I was the one overreacting. I sat there, picking at my food, my mind racing. Why had she thought that was okay? The finch comment was about my bird, not my body, and the touch her hand on my stomach, casual but invasive, made my skin crawl. I dealt with Rachel's teasing before, but this was different. It wasn't just a bad joke, it was a violation, turning a private part of me into office banner. I wanted to brush it off, to eat my lunch and move on, but the knot in my chest wouldn't loosen. I kept seeing her smirk, hearing the laughter, feeling her hand where it didn't belong. The rest of the lunch was a blur. I stayed quiet, nodding when coworkers chatted, but my mind was elsewhere. Should I say something? Let it go? Rachel hadn't meant harm, she never did, in her mind, but intent didn't erase the impact. I left the party early, claiming a headache, and drove home, the finch still on my camera feed when I checked later. That little bird was supposed to be my calm, but now it was tangled up in a moment that left me raw. Listener, this lunch was just the spark. Emily's about to face a choice: stay silent or push back, and it's going to shake things up more than she expects. Stay with me. You'll want to see what happens next. The moment Rachel's hand touched Emily's stomach, something snapped. The fiesta lunch was supposed to be a light-hearted break, but now Emily stood frozen in the taco line, her paper plate trembling in her hands. Rachel's loud joke must be the little chicken here, echoed, drawing chuckles from the crowd. But to Emily, it was like a spotlight burning her skin. Her Finch comment had been private, innocent, about a bird, not her body. Yet here was Rachel, turning it into a public spectacle, her uninvited touch crossing a line Emily didn't even know she'd drawn so firmly. Shock and anger surged, and before she could think, words flew out. "Don't wish bad luck on me like that," Emily said, her voice low and icy, cutting through the chatter. She stepped back, putting distance between her and Rachel's outstretched hand. The break room went quiet, the music suddenly too loud in the background. Heads turned coworkers, interns, even the guy scooping salsa. Rachel's eyes widened, her grin faltering like she'd been slapped. "Whoa, it was just a joke," she said, her hands raised in mock surrender, but her tone carried a hint of defensiveness. A few people let out awkward laughs, trying to break the tension, but it didn't work. Emily's face burned, her pulse hammering. She caught sight of her boss, Thomas, standing near the margarita table, his brow furrowed. He was looking at her, not Rachel, his expression a mix of confusion and disapproval, like Emily had just cursed at a client. The weight of those stares, Rachel's shock, Thomas's judgment, the scattered giggles pressed down, making her feel small, exposed. She clutched her plate, muttered, "Whatever," and beelined for a corner table, her appetite gone. Rachel didn't follow, already laughing it off with someone else, but the damage was done. Back at her desk after lunch, Emily's mind was a storm. She stared at her computer, the spreadsheets blurring as she replayed the moment. Had she overreacted? Her response, "Don't wish bad luck on me," had come out harsher than she meant, laced with a cultural edge from her mom's old superstitions about jinxing pregnancy. But Rachel's touch, that casual rub on her stomach, felt like a violation, turning her body into a prop for a cheap laugh. Emily wasn't pregnant, had never hinted she was, and even if she were, who gave Rachel the right? They weren't close, friendly, sure, but not that kind of friendly. Yet the room's reaction, Thomas's look, made her feel like she was the problem, the one who turned a fun moment sour. She thought back to other times with Rachel. The woman had a habit of crossing lines, teasing about baby bumps when Emily wore a flowy shirt, asking nosy questions about her dating life in team meetings. Emily had always brushed it off, not wanting to make waves in their small office. But this was different. This wasn't just words, it was physical, public, and tied to something as personal as her body. She remembered a team lunch months ago when Rachel had nudged her, saying, "Better watch those tacos, or people'll start asking when you're due." Everyone had laughed, and Emily had forced a smile, but it stung. Why was her body always fair game for Rachel's jokes? Now, sitting at her desk, Emily second-guessed herself. Maybe she had been too sharp. Rachel was just being her loud, jokey self, annoying, but not malicious. Maybe Emily's tone had escalated things, made it a bigger deal than it needed to be. But then she thought about that touch again, the way Rachel's hand felt entitled to her space, and her anger flared back. No, she wasn't wrong to push back. Her body, her boundaries, they weren't up for grabs, no matter how light-hearted the intent. Still, the fallout gnawed at her. Thomas's stare, the awkward laugh, shad she just painted a target on herself. Would people whisper that she was too sensitive? No fun. Emily tried to focus on work, but her thoughts kept circling. She wasn't the one who'd made it weird Druckle had. Yet somehow, she was left feeling like the villain, the one who disrupted the office vibe. She wanted to confront Rachel, to say, "You don't get to touch me like that," but the idea of another scene, more eyes on her, made her stomach twist. She could let it go, pretend it never happened, but that felt like betraying herself. Or she could speak up, risk the drama, and maybe lose the easy rapport she'd built at work. Either way, she was stuck, caught between defending her boundaries and dodging the label of troublemaker. Listener, Emily's at a crossroads, and the choice she makes is going to ripple. Was her reaction too much? Or was it the only way to stand her ground? Stay with Metha's stories about to get realer, and the stakes are higher than a taco lunch. That night, Emily couldn't shake the knot in her chest. The fiesta lunch incidentals uninvited touch, the crew joke, the room stairsplayed on a loop as she sat in her Austin apartment, the hum of the city outside her window. Her Finch wasn't at the sill, and even that small absence felt like a loss. She'd snapped back at Rachel, her sharp "don't wish bad luck on me" cutting through the party. But now doubt crept in. Had she been too harsh? Was she the one who'd made it a scene? Needing perspective, she opened her laptop, logged into Reddit anonymously, and poured out the story in a post on a women's forum. Was I rude? She typed. Did I overreact by shutting down my co-worker's joke about me being pregnant? She hit send, hoping for clarity, and went to bed, unsure if anyone would even care. By morning, her post had blown up. Hundreds of replies flooded in, mostly from women, and the response was overwhelming. Touching someone without consent is never okay. One commenter wrote, especially the stomach, it's so personal. Another said, no one gets to make your body a punchline, just because they think it's fun. Your reaction was spot on. Others shared their own stories, coworkers commenting on their weight, strangers patting their bellies, jokes that left them humiliated. You set a boundary. One reply read, don't let their shock make you feel wrong. You protected yourself. Reading through, Emily's eyes welled up. She wasn't alone. Her anger, her discomfort, it wasn't too much. It was valid, human, shared. The comments shifted something in her. She'd spent the day questioning herself, replaying Thomas's disapproving look, the awkward laughs, Rachel's stunned face. Had she embarrassed herself, ruined her office rep? But the Reddit thread raw, honest, from strangers who got it gave her a new lens. Rachel's touch wasn't just a clumsy joke. It was a violation, presuming access to Emily's body for a laugh. The pregnancy quip wasn't harmless, it turned her into a prop, ignoring her privacy, her autonomy, and Emily's response, sharp as it was, had been her way of saying, this isn't okay. She hadn't started the fire. Rachel had, and the room's reaction didn't change that truth. Emily thought back to Rachel's pattern, those baby bump teases, the nosy questions about her personal life. She'd let them slide, not wanting to rock the boat in their tight-knit office. But this time, Rachel had gone too far, and Emily's gut had known it before her brain caught up. The Reddit replies hammered it home. Boundaries matter, even if they make others uncomfortable, even if they disrupt the fun vibe, even if they cost you the easygoing label. Emily wasn't reddish, was reclaiming her space, and that wasn't something to apologize for. The next day at work, the office felt different, like the air held a faint charge. Rachel didn't approach her, sticking to her desk, her usual loud laugh quieter. Thomas, her boss, didn't mention the lunch, just nodded when Emily passed him in the hall. No one brought it up, no whispers, no side eyes, at least not that she noticed. It was as if the moment had been swept under the rug, and Emily was okay with that. She didn't need a showdown or an apology from Rachel, though part of her wished for one. What she needed was the certainty that she'd done the right thing, and the Reddit chorus, echoing her own instincts, gave her that. Looking back, Emily knew speaking up had been crucial. If she'd stayed silent, swallowed her discomfort like she had before, Rachel might have kept pushing. Another joke, another touch, another boundary crossed. By calling it out, Emily had drawn a line, not just for herself, but for anyone else Rachel might target. It wasn't about punishing Rachel, it was about protecting her own dignity. She thought of her Finch, that small, free creature at her window, and felt a quiet strength. Like that bird, she could choose her space, her terms, no matter who tried to claim it. She didn't know if things would change, at work might stay distant, or the office might forget the whole thing. But Emily felt steadier, grounded in a truth she hadn't fully grasped before. Her boundaries were hers to set, and defending them wasn't overreacting was necessary. She wasn't the villain of the lunch, and she didn't need everyone's approval to know it. So, listener, thanks for sticking with me through this. It's not just about a bad joke, it's about what we owe ourselves when others cross the line. If you were me, would you have snapped back or let it go? And when's a time you had to defend your space, even if it felt risky? Drop your thoughts, I'm all ears. Stay with me. Life's got more stories where this came from.